I literally could listen to this song all day. Phantom Planet. If you know, you know. Welcome back to the leadoff spot. I'm Danny Wexelman in for Steve Phillips this week. He's taken a much-deserved break. I'm with my guy, Xavier Scruggs, and our producers, Tim and Patrick. And I am in California. I'm not there. I'm in Sacramento, by the way. Next to West Sacramento. Cardinals and A's start a series tonight. But we're talking about the Dodgers and the Giants right now. Game one of their series yesterday, and the Giants able to pull out a win over the defending champs. A much-needed victory, by the way, for San Francisco, who's just still trying to figure it out to start the season. They're big guys. They're mashers right now, and their team feels like they're still trying to mesh well together. And Tony Vitello in his first year is still trying to figure things out and how things work at this big league level. The game speeds up on you. There's a lot of things you know if you haven't managed up here. So he is learning as he goes. This team is just trying to find their footing right now, X. So a great win for them over the Dodgers. But I think my bigger question right now, the way the Dodgers have played as of late, I know they got Mookie Betts back in the lineup. He got a hit last night. He's going to take a second to get that stride back at the big league level. But the Dodgers, I saw them in St. Louis. They look flat. And I know we say it, they're playing for October, but at a certain point, you do have to wonder, how long does this flat race go on? Like, how long can you play flat and maintain where you are in your division and just look the way that you do? Because it doesn't look like the Dodgers, even if they have injuries and whatnot, doesn't look like the team that we know them to be right now.
Yeah, it doesn't look offensively explosive. I think a big part of that is not having Shohei Ohtani where he's at right now, right? Like not having him to the production that we typically see him at. And we know that he's taking time off when he's starting pitching. It sounds like he'll get a couple of days off from hitting here pretty soon too. So just trying to reset. And everything evolves around Ohtani. There's no doubt about that. That is the biggest piece to this lineup. And yes, there's so many other superstars, and yes, there's depth, but there's one guy that makes everything go. So until Ohtani is quite himself, it's hard for this offense to get back. Now, Mookie Betts will help that. The timing will take a little bit, right? He had the oblique. It'll take some time. He took some swings yesterday that weren't quite himself. So we'll see him get back to that. And the offense just has to get going. Max Muncy has been one of the better pieces to this. Yesterday, a couple of huge hits with some guys in scoring position, but they're just not themselves offensively. And I don't think it's pressing or anything like that. I think we just haven't seen them all get going offensively. And yesterday, too, from a relief standpoint, they didn't pitch their game. I believe it was Vesia, Trinan and Vesia came into this one, gave up a bases-loaded walk to Devers, who Devers had some really good at-bats, so that's a good sign yesterday. Home run and a bases-loaded walk. So from a bullpen standpoint, they haven't quite been themselves either. And Roki Sasaki, we're still trying to figure out, can he start in the big leagues?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too. I mean, like, I do think their pen's being stretched right now. And this is kind of what we saw in the postseason, right? It was the opposite, though, not being able to get a ton out of their starters. Their bullpen able to come up big for them. Justin Robleski, by the way, who is nails in October during their World Series run, he ends up getting a spot in the starting rotation because of injuries. And he's been so good. And then over the weekend, had to eat innings for them because the bullpen's been taxed, because they've had to use so many arms. He ends up going 8 2/3, I believe, and just is wearing it, right? Like, that's the kind of guy he's been for them. And I give him so much credit for doing something like that. The Dodgers are playing on a different level when you can do things like that. When you have Max Muncy and Andy Pages, who are in the bottom of your order, your best hitters, and they're still down there, right? Dave's not moving those guys up. He was waiting for Mookie to come back. But at a certain point, like, I think, like, we just keep saying they're going to be fine. They're going to be in October. I think the Dodgers will be fine, but I don't know if this year fine is going to be good enough or better than the way the Braves are playing, the way the Cubs are playing, like the National League, even the National League Central right now, every team over 500, like they're playing with this life and this vigor and this excitement that I don't see from the Dodgers right now, because I know it's business. I know they're playing in a different category, but I don't know. There's just something about it right now that is not sitting with me well. And I feel like the other National League teams deserve a lot of credit for the way they're playing.
They deserve credit, but I also look at, the cream rises to the top. And it's a Dodgers team that has shown us time and time again, even when they have had their struggles, they still bounce back like no other team. The depth does that for this team. And we might see some things change as far as that rotation goes a little bit. I don't think you can continue to have Roki Sasaki kind of wear down early in these games, and then that costs the bullpen. So at some point, I expect there to be something done, whether he's sent to AAA, kind of get him back going again. I don't know. They already said he's not going to the bullpen. So you're looking at those little depth things can become issues, right? Tyler Glasnow just last week had issues, so that hurts the rest of that rotation in a sense. You're hoping Blake Snell helps that, right, coming back into this thing. So it's an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the depth. And realistically, we look at it, it's 2 weeks of not great baseball. They started off so well, and we're only 40 games into the season. So all indication tells me with what this roster looks like is a couple bad week stretch, and they're still one of the better teams in baseball. They will be just fine.
Yeah, nobody's worried internally about the Dodgers. Nobody's really worried about them at all, because this is how they're able to operate, because they're functioning at such a high level in so many ways. But it's been a little, and I saw the last thing I'll note here before we get to our morning matchup from Fabian Ardaya, who covers the Dodgers for The Athletic, said that Dave Roberts said Shohei Ohtani's not going to hit tomorrow, which is his start date, or Thursday, as he scuffles at the plate. So I thought that was kind of interesting. He's going to get a breather because he looks human. He looks human maybe for the first time in a long time at the plate. He's been incredible on the mound, but just fighting through some things right now, X, at the plate. But luckily for the Dodgers, they've got a bunch of other guys who are going to be able to come up and have his back. That's what really great teams do. They figure it out. So interesting right now with the Dodgers as they work their way through May. By the way, if you want to listen to the Cubs and the Braves, it's on Sirius XM 139 and 180, that series. And then the Dodgers and the Giants, it's going to be right here on MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM 89. We got you covered for the game.
I think the average fan, if you ask them a year ago who was the Cubs' best hitter, it was Michael Busch, and I don't think people really know that. Now, he's not off to that same start this season, but to your point on how valuable he is, he was their best hitter a year ago, so he's incredibly valuable. He's been swinging it better as of late. He had a pretty tough start to the season, so yeah, of course, they need him to get going and to produce. I don't know if they expect him to have a 148 OPS plus like he did a year ago, but they certainly expect offensive production out of him. So he's a huge piece to the lineup. But I think what's interesting when you say, like, who are the stars in the Cubs lineup? They don't really have this is the guy you have to focus on. They have so many different guys who can do damage. I mean, There's been stretches where Dansby Swanson's in the 9-hole. So, it's just like they have a really deep lineup of really good hitters and a ton of different guys who can beat you in different ways.
Taylor, we saw Bregman this offseason sign a 5-year, $175 million contract with the Cubs. And I'm just wondering, should we be concerned about where he is offensively? What are the rumblings as far as adjustments we may see him make? Because this is not the same offensive player that we've seen specifically over the past few years, and even with the Red Sox going back to last year.
Yeah, I would say there's no concern, and I would say there's an element that sounds weird, but it's almost exciting to know that it hasn't happened yet, because it's going to happen at some point. So Alex has been really interesting to watch go about his work. He's super intentional and particular about the things that he wants to change about his swing. So right now he's focusing on the look of his swing. So almost every day in batting practice, you'll see people standing there on the iPad or with an iPhone taking video of him. And he says right now he's more concerned about the way his swing looks. So they'll record it, he'll go over, and he's focused on it looking a certain way. Now, in layman's terms, he essentially feels like he's opening up too soon. So he's trying to get his front hip closed a little bit more. And then he said from there, it'll become more of a feel thing. So he's super locked in on the things he feels like he needs to do to get back on track. And I'm a firm believer this is going to come to what the numbers say on the back of the baseball card. And the fact that he hasn't hit a hot streak yet, I actually think is good for the Cubs because you know at some point it's going to come.
Yeah, and I think like the best part about him, Taylor, is the intangible parts too, which is what he's doing for everybody else in that clubhouse and at that ballpark. And even if he doesn't have it right now, everybody else, their game is elevated because of the way that he treats them and the way that he takes such great care of the game. So I love the point you make that he hasn't even gotten going yet, which is going to be great once he does because the lineup's been killing it. I'm curious too for you, like what is that like in the middle of a win streak that you guys have, especially at home in front of the fans, like night after night, getting to bring somebody out there with you in front of the crowd that is louder than loud, by the way. How does that feel for you getting to do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes Wrigley so special. It's a cool place, man. Like it's the middle of April, end of April, early May. It's still cold, and the fans show up, and it's just a magical place. And I think the players never take it for granted, but I think it's cool seeing it through the eyes of the fans, and especially fans who maybe don't get to experience it very often. I'll tell you a story. Last week, Kirk Herbstreit, who's a huge Reds fan, was out at the ballpark, and I saw him pregame, and he was loving life, just taking in the friendly confines. And he's a Reds fan. His team gets walked off 3 games, and he was there, I think, the third one. And he put something out on social media just like, this place is magical. And it is. So it's why we love this sport. Every single day you can show up and experience something different. And especially when it's at a place like Wrigley Field, it just makes it even better.
It was magical to watch, honestly, and very cool to see all the post-game interviews, and always so happy to see you. Thank you for giving us time today ahead of this series. We appreciate you and we love you so much.
Oh, we love you. I love you guys. Thanks so much for having me on. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, girl.
Thanks, Taylor.
Talk to you soon. All right, that's Taylor McGregor, one of the best in the business, sideline and host for the Chicago Cubs on Marquee Sports. Big series coming up, Cubs, Braves. It is going to be an absolute blast to watch these two teams face off, two of the best in the National League X. A lot to break down when it comes to that. That's a part of what we're doing here, but also the San Francisco Giants, big win for them yesterday against the Los Angeles Dodgers. They needed that momentum. My question is, are the Dodgers okay? Are they okay? We're going to answer that question and figure out what's going on with the defending